It has almost been 8 years since one of Sonic's best adventures released worldwide, a video game that to this day I still believe it has one of the best ways to trivia the history of a character. I'm talking about none other than Sonic Mania, an amazing piece of a video game developed by Sega alongside Christian Whitehead, Pagoda West Games, Tantalus Media, Hyperkinetic Studios, and Headcanon that brings back in its entirety the spirit of classic 90s Sonic games. 8 years. A lot has happened since then. Many new Sonic games have been released either 2D or 3D and more are yet to come in the future. So why the release of this video 8 years later, you might be wondering? Does this game have something that just myself has knowledge of? Well, yes and no. Today, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look back and rediscover that beauty that was once presented as Sonic Mania. To start off this retrospective, let me set one thing straight. I'm not a super fan of Sonic. I'm sure that you can take a look at other videos that I've done and realize that I'm more of a fan of an Italian man with blue overalls. If you ask me between Mario and Sonic, 90% of the time I will choose Mario because it's the one that I've overall feel more comfortable with. But what about that 10%? Well, that can be represented as Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Generations, and of course, Sonic Mania. Outstanding titles that I've had the opportunity to play them when they first released, and to make me choose these games before other Mario games truly speaks a lot from them. Sonic Mania was first revealed on July 23rd of 2016, but let it be known that it wasn't a normal July 23rd of 2016, it was the Hedgehog's 25th birthday at San Diego Comic-Con. And while I know that Sonic has had outstanding titles like the ones that I previously mentioned, I know that as any other franchise, it has had rough patches in the past. The infamous Sonic 06, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 and 2, and many others that I'm probably missing. So it was a crucial moment for the character's reputation, I would say. After all, the anniversary game released 5 years before prior to that moment was Sonic Generations, a game that to this day is still getting recognition. So it was a really tough moment where what they showed on screen decided what the future of Sonic would look like. And oh my god. This game came to deliver. There's no other way to describe what this game was like to the Sonic community. A well-deserved tribute to arguably the best era of Sonic, which was the 90s era with the Sega Genesis. With Sonic Mania, many fans thought they've hit the bullseye with practically everything. The physics being spot on to the gameplay, that classic authentic feeling while swimming through the remixed courses from the first games like the super iconic Green Hill from the very first game, and other ones like Sonic 3 and Knuckles Lava Reef Zone being so well executed. Overall, an amazing way to celebrate Sonic the Hedgehog's 25th birthday with their loyal fan base. For me, it was okay at first. As I've said in the beginning, Sonic wasn't really the big wow for me while growing up. I've only played some of his best work, but he isn't necessarily my favorite or the one that I will spend countless hours analyzing frames and figure out what the next game is going to be. Needless to say, I'm not that big of a Sonic fan. So why did I pick up this game, you might ask? Well, honestly, it was on sale and all of the hype that was around this specific title was too much for my curiosity at the time, and I said, screw it. Maybe this will go to the 10% of actually well-developed Sonic games. So I played the entirety of the game in like 2 weeks, got to Eggman and defeated him, watched that amazing animated cutscene and said, that's it? Is this really what people wanted after 20 years? Nah, let's give myself from the past some room here. For me, I was just experiencing a classic Sonic game where yes, everything looked like classic Sonic game, but at the time, I didn't think it was something to go super nuts about. Sure, everything looked lovely and well, going super fast in levels is something that only Sonic can pull off smoothly sometimes, but overall, I really didn't see at first the excitement everyone was getting through this game. I just didn't get it. At first. Let it be known that at first I didn't get it, because coming back to this title nowadays is truly a jaw-dropping experience for me, even from the very beginning. Oh my god, do I love this title screen. Oh my god, do I love this animation. Oh my god, do I love this interface. Oh my god, do I love everything about this game. Now I may sound a bit exaggerated while expressing myself, I get that. But look at other mascot celebration title screens. Crash Bandicoot, while they still took the time to add more stuff to the initial cutscenes of the remastered trilogy, their title screen comes off bland and simple if you ask me. Like, Crash is not even seen running or fighting an enemy. And what can we say for Mario's 35th birthday? Like, is this really the proper way to introduce one of the best 3D runs a mascot has had ever? A bland title screen where you reuse the winning animations of every single game? This may seem nostalgic or something cool to look at, but let's take a moment to think here. Is really having the levels as background, or even worse, an animation that you didn't even take the time to redo it, a proper introduction for a celebration? Because if you ask me, the answer is always going to be no. You want it to feel special from the very beginning, and that includes the intro. My reason of saying that the intro is beautiful is not just me saying it. While of course it clearly resembles the first game of Sonic waving his finger back and forth, the build up to it from literal black to a screen full of colors in an instant is a symbolism of the nature of these games. Fast changes and rapid change of colors. Also seeing classic Sonic full of life in just a few seconds with that spectacular animation on the intro, the 3D spinning island having a pixelated effect being the face of Sonic himself, and that music just adding that cherry on top on this beautiful introduction. From the very start, it all just feels like a celebration for Sonic, not just the product. And with this amazing presentation, there is no other way to go but up. Once you start a new save file, you're instantly put into gameplay, having a small introduction of what this game goes for. A simple adventure of Eggman's minions, the hard-boiled heavies, and Eggman himself taking a powerful gem by what it looks like away from Sonic and probably going to do something bad with it. So that makes our protagonist, Sonic and Tails, go defeat the bad guy. Alright, maybe the story is not really, the best. And that could be a factor of why the first time I really thought so little about this game. But now that I'm really looking at it, the story shouldn't be a factor when it comes to Sonic Mania. After all, what we're really looking for is that sweet classic feeling of going through courses. And even so that the story is not really the best, the fact that they did change up the characters a little bit and give them a bit more personality is still a nice touch. Just, not the main part of this release. Oh no. Because right after this small introduction, we are set onto gameplay on the super iconic Green Hills Zone 1. I've seen a lot of people complain and say that this level has been overused and kind of lost its magic, but if you ask me, I don't think there is another level that screams Sonic as this one, and for the 25th birthday it was obviously needed, more so for the fact that it was a revival of the 90s era. It was literally the first thing this hedgehog has stepped on. But besides that, I really want to give more of my attention on how the gameplay is honestly something you don't see every day. I've said that the opinion of many people has been nothing but appraisal when it comes to capturing the Sega Genesis feeling, as they call it. But as somebody that never tried a game from that era, let alone any game from 2D Sonic, I've got to say that this is honestly something unique. While playing Sonic Mania, I realized that it is truly a difficult task to make a level appealing to the eye when you're cruising it like it's nothing. Having Sonic as your main character puts up a challenge when designing a level. This combination of places where you can go really fast and feel invincible and then out of nowhere be stopped because you weren't paying that much attention is just such a thrill to me. Combine this with the outstanding animations they've done on the Sonic cast that are not necessarily something extremely polished or a super complicated 3D render of a character, but instead a reimagination of what the original Sonic was going for. And no doubt there is so much attention to detail when it comes to Sonic Mania, since the developers of this game previously mentioned are actually prominent members of the Sonic community, as they've worked on many mods for the mascot, especially working on mobile ports for the 90s games like Sonic CD, or working to make new games that mimic that feeling of the Sega Genesis era. It's just so crazy to me that Sega took this decision of partnering up with fans to create a celebration of Sonic, but at the same time, is it even a risk? Like, these are not just fans that popped out of nowhere. These are amazingly talented people that have demonstrated ability to revive a well-searched feeling. Do you think that this talented group of people would ruin the mascot's 25th birthday when their whole work has been nothing but appraisal from the fans? Of course, they didn't go all out and went with ideas from them. They've still kept in touch with the Sonic team to have this game still on the idea of a revival, not just a remaster, and also not just everything new. The perfect combination of nostalgia and evolution. And oh my god, did they hit the spot when making the levels. Taking a majority of the zones from previous games as I've mentioned, but adding new elements as the zone developed, like chemical plant zone having new bounty areas instead of everything filled up with water up to Act 2, or also Hydro City zones where new powerful currents of water push the player to put them in tough but new situations. Forgive me for sounding like a sucker for this game, but I don't really mind having the majority of the zones being taken from older games, because I never noticed it. The new animations of Sonic were so slick, the remastered music being so amazing to the ears, and the overall feeling of this game made me forget about that. Also, it's for the fact that I've never played any games that these levels were from, so that's also a better point for me, since I got to experience in the best way possible some of the best areas Sonic has had to go through. So, why did I thought so little of Sonic Mania on the first time that I played it? Well, after completing Sonic Mania for the second time a few months ago, I finally got my answer of what was missing on my first playthrough. Exploring. I know, right? One of the core principles of any game if you think about it. How could I have forgotten what makes a game fun? Honestly, if you asked me even back then, I would have said, I don't know, because I really was missing out on this game if I just opened up my mind a little bit more. I knew about the special ring levels since the first one is pretty easy to discover, and also the blue sphere levels that appear on certain checkpoints, but it never really triggered my emotion on wanting more of this. Keep in mind that at the same time I was also playing Mario Odyssey, so it wasn't really that exciting to explore a 2D map for me. And I also thought at the time that Sonic was all about going fast, and that somewhat downgraded my opinion for this game. But as I was playing Sonic Mania for the second time, it suddenly clicked. What if I can't get up there? And the rest is history. One of the best 2D experiences I've ever had. No doubts in my mind. And it's all thanks to the amazing work these crazy talented people put onto the mascot they most appreciate. And I really don't like the idea that this game spent 8 years collecting dust on my Nintendo Switch. Every special level that I failed was a new challenge that I wanted to beat. Every blue sphere level at each checkpoint just made me more curious and it sparked that emotion in me to keep going. Granted, I haven't 100% Sonic Mania, and if I'm going to be fully honest, I haven't played this game since the second time I've beaten it. Don't get me wrong, I truly love the majority of things that this game goes for. But there are some parts on this game that felt unfair in my opinion, like dying to the minimum of high difference when things seems to get a little bit tight on this game. I know it's also a thing to resemble the unfairness that some of these levels had, but it gets kind of annoying at some point, you know? Like, oh, Sonic suddenly doesn't fit on this gap? You've just lost a life. Also, the bosses for me didn't really feel like super difficult bosses, except the last one against Eggman. They're a really cool concept, and to think that each one has its own gimmick or theme going on is so amazing to think. But I don't know, I think that by having Sonic on close space didn't really sold it to me. And now that I think about it, maybe using the special ring level format of having 3D classic Sonic against the bosses could have also been an approach that I personally think it could have been better. I don't speak for everyone, I know. But seeing this format restricted to only Chaos Emerald challenges seems like a waste if you think about it. What if the bosses turn into 3D areas like in Sonic Rush for the DS? An interesting approach if you ask me, that not only takes potential of the 3D aspect of this game, but also gives a chance to that group of people that didn't went for the special levels to still look at this amazing gameplay at each zone at least once. Nonetheless, the bosses are cool as I've said, just, you know, not the strongest point about Sonic Mania. I also just wanted to talk about Sonic Rush for a moment since that game is pretty cool. There is a lot of things that make this game so cool if you ask me. It's not just in the art or gameplay aspect, but also everything that happened prior to this. It's so crazy to think that the modding community of 2D Sonic actually got to develop this release, and that the majority of the levels are not just a simple remaster, but instead innovation and new ways to enjoy what once was sold as Sonic CD or Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I really love the idea of this game being a celebration, and that it was so well executed it even got DLC with returning characters. And while there is still flaws that I've pointed out, that doesn't exclude it from becoming what I think is a must experience for anybody that enjoys 2D platformers. With this thought, I'm only leaving myself with only one question for you all. Why do we need a celebration for this amount of effort? This game has not only opened my eyes into trying more 2D Sonic games, but it also made me wonder of why as people who seek entertainment need to wait until a celebration of the mascot to have an incredible masterpiece. I know that isn't always the case, but it really feels like we're getting good games that brings this mix of nostalgia and innovation on a character's birthday only, where we get such crazy attention to detail, super well executed gameplay, and hours of entertainment because it's basically required. It's a celebration at the end of the day. The beauty of Sonic Mania doesn't depend on bringing back the old levels and old sprites of Sonic. It depends on all the love the developers gave when creating this masterpiece. But why wait until a celebration? Why can't we have back-to-back Sonic games, or for that matter, games in general, that have the same quality and love that was set onto Sonic Mania? Why have such shameful cash grabs that never seem to satisfy the fans and leave them wanting a truly great experience like Sonic Mania? But what is that beauty that makes such a good experience? Is it just new animation, new mechanics, being two-dimensional? No. The beauty of Sonic Mania is the concept of itself. As I see it, it's a message to major video game publishers that collaborating with your most dedicated fans could be the way to go. That the spirit of the game not always comes from the best graphics, but instead having genuine passion and love for the character and the gameplay. It comes as a standard to future 2D titles to be as memorable as this release. And it's sad that we needed Sonic's 25th birthday for this much attention on a video game. It's sad that people may have waited years and years for a title like Sonic Mania. And that's where the beauty of Sonic Mania shines. It shines in the hope that one day we won't have to wait for games like this one. This has been The Batoons, and I hope to see you on the next video. Adios.